Videos are not a substitute for real therapy and do not constitute therapeutic advice. Hi, my name is Colleen Steppa. I am a licensed social worker and I'm brand new to YouTube. So I decided to start recording some videos. I thought that this would help me get some information about therapy and mental health out to a wider audience. Open my door because my rabbit is trying to get in. So if you see rabbits hanging out in this area, there's a mirror in this room. This is actually the room where I do my telehealth therapy with my clients. So you might see a bunny hop in and out of the frame. I wanted to talk about some books that I have read that I think would be helpful for other people to hear about. The first book that I want to talk about is I Don't Want to Talk About It. There we go, you can see better. By Terrance Real. So this book is about male depression, which sounds like a huge downer of a topic, but that's okay. I'm into downer topics. This book is really, really readable. Despite the fact that it is about depression, it's a very hopeful book. There are a lot of vignettes where the author, who is a therapist, talks about his own life, talks about clients, guarding their protected information, kind of like creating characters out of multiple clients, that sort of thing. But it's really cool to me. I started out, and when I became a therapist, I found that I had a lot of male clients, and I had worked with men before, but not in therapy, and I think that there are some specific challenges that you might see as a therapist when you work with male clients, depending on the culture that you're working with. Obviously, in our culture in the United States, there's a lot of stigma around mental health. There's a lot of stigma around men seeking mental health, around men expressing emotions in certain ways, and there's just different types of struggles that men will have. One of the reasons I think this book is really important for people to read, even people who are not therapists, is just to understand how mental health looks different for different people. There's obviously lots of different factors that people come into therapy with or have mental illness, but men and women may present their symptoms very differently depending on their societal pressures and just their roles. So he talks about male depression looking sometimes like things that we think are very normal. Like, one of my favorite stories was about an individual that he saw who was addicted to TV, which I feel like is me, but basically this man, in order to shut off his emotions and just not have bad feelings and not face them, would just go home after work, turn on the TV, and have the TV on constantly. And if he didn't have the TV, he was highly distressed. So now we say a problem's not a problem unless it causes problems. So if you watch TV all day, whatever, that's fine. But if you can't live without the TV, then there's probably a problem there. And so he talks about there's different ways that men might present depression symptoms that may not be recognized immediately as depression because we don't expect men to emote in our culture. The best about this book was the readability and the author's voice. I just think he's a great writer. I would read other things he wrote. He has a really compelling stories about his own life and his own father that just really bring you in and show you the humanity. And he really cares about his clients, which comes through in the way that he describes their stories. All right, well, you can see my bunny right now. Do you see him? Do you see him? He's right there. Wait, I gotta point the right way. No, he's right there. Okay, so the last of the physical books I'm gonna show you, because I have a couple of books that I read on Audible, so I don't have like a book to show you. This one is the SelfLove Journal, and that's by Leslie Marchand. Marchand, I believe it's a French name, looks French. Anyway, this book just like arrived mysteriously at my doorstep about, I don't know, a month into quarantine in Minnesota. If you can't tell by my very thick accent, I'm from Minnesota. I now practice in Arizona. I'm licensed in both states. I just discovered this book in a package that came to my place one day, and I thought maybe I had bought it like 6 months ago and forgot about it or something. There was no note or anything with it. Turns out my therapist bought it for me, and so this was something that we were able to talk about together. It's really a great tool to use with a therapist. You could also use it by yourself. It's a totally great example of why I needed this book. So the book has like 4 different sections, and they're denoted by, there's like this very pretty background. I don't want to show you what I wrote because it's private. It's my diary. And then, so then there's a blue section, and there's like a yellow section, a green section, and they're all slightly different themes of self-love, self-acceptance. So I was like, I got this book, and I was like, there's 4 sections. That's 4 weeks. I'm going to be done with this in a month. Now, I got this in like April or something, and now it's mid-September, and I'm only like halfway through. But that was like, to me, I had a moment where I thought about that, and I was like, why do I need to do that? Why do I need to be done with this journal in a certain amount of time? There's no competition, there's no prize. It really doesn't matter. And these are the kind of exercises that you want to take some time to do. For example, I'll just open to a random page. Write a letter to someone you love expressing gratitude for who they are as a person and what positive traits they bring out in you. Consider sending the letter to the person or telling them that you appreciate your relationship. That's awesome. I've actually told clients to do that. This is in a section of the book I haven't used yet, so that was a surprise to me. So it's exercises that you want to probably take 5 to 30 minutes to do. So you could use this book for like a year. Or you could be an overachiever and try and get it done in a month. Either way, I found the exercises were great for just like looking for things to be grateful for, especially in quarantine when I was super duper miserable. And I just enjoy having something that's sort of a thinking moment. So I picked this book up. I actually keep it like at my desk where my pens are, like under this little shelf that I have. And I'll pick it up in between sessions and sometimes just do an exercise. And I have used prompts and suggestions there in session with clients when we don't have a lot to talk about. I have 2 books that I super loved that I read in the past like 8 months or so that I don't have physical copies of because I read them on Audible. One of them is Body Positive Power by Megan Jane Crabb, and she's just awesome. I love her. You should follow her on Instagram. Her handle is BodyPosiPanda, and I'm not kidding. When I discovered her Instagram account, I think I just couldn't sleep. I have trouble sleeping sometimes. And it was the middle of the night, and I'm like scrolling Instagram, just looking at random stuff, and I saw a post of hers that was about giving yourself permission to eat if you're hungry and not punish yourself for the body that you have. And it was just so powerful. I literally cried in the middle of the night, like, you know, those 3 a.m. thoughts of self-criticism. She just is awesome. Also, she has a very like nice, attractive English accent, and I just love listening to authors on Audible when they have great accents. It's one of my favorite things. Can be triggering if someone is in current recovery from an eating disorder, because she does talk about parts of her life where she had very, very severe anorexic behaviors. And she talks about, I don't think she talks about her exact weight. She does talk about certain like indicators of feeling very thin at those times, and those can be triggering for people who have an active eating disorder. The great thing though is that she gives really good trigger warnings. She'll say, hey, if you can't handle this topic, then you want to skip into this page. And she'll have like, in the text version, there's like little stars, because I have it on Kindle too, because I love it so much. Basically, this book is part of body positivity, anti-diet, intuitive eating movement, and I just think that her voice is so powerful. She talks about feeling okay within your body, understanding the kind of forces that make you want to starve yourself or hurt yourself or change your body, and learning to actually accept yourself, and not just accept yourself if you end up out of eating disorder recovery as a thin person, which I was like, oh my God, it's okay to be fat. It's okay to be chubby. So she is what I think she talks about her size sometimes. I'm not going to like label what size she is. I don't think that's important, but she is not a stereotypically thin woman. She's also mixed race. I think that she identifies as black and white. About her own recovery and really feeling self-critical about the fact that she was getting to a healthy weight, and that what her healthy weight looked like was not the cultural ideal. Because if we're encouraging people to listen to their body, listen to their hunger signals, then they don't need any of that garbage about looking a certain way, and we just need to get rid of as much of that garbage as possible. Okay, so the last book that I want to talk about is SelfCompassion by Kristin Neff. And this is a book I also listen to on Audible. I think you can get it in multiple formats. I like the Audible version because I could listen to it in the car, and then I could do some of the exercises and not feel stupid. I did have a couple of clients who tried this book out and they had mixed reactions. And I think their reactions are kind of telling about what the book is like. And I don't think that having a bad reaction to this book necessarily meant that the book is bad, and I'll explain that. So basically, this book, the concept is having compassion for yourself and like improving the way that you talk to yourself. So think about your internal monologue. You maybe aren't even aware of it a lot of the time, but many, many, many people have very negative internal monologues where they're criticizing themselves, putting themselves down, saying, why aren't you doing this? You need to work harder, et cetera, et cetera. So I've noticed this in some of my clients. I've noticed this in myself. And this book is just about having nicer internal monologue, really. So the difference between the idea of self-compassion and something like self-esteem is that when we think of self-esteem, that's really attached to something like achievement. So if I graduate, I'm proud of myself and I'm happy about that achievement, and then I can have high self-esteem and say, look at what I did, I graduated. Now, what about times when you don't achieve something, or when you feel really bad, or if you've been so depressed that you can't get out of bed for 2 weeks? Arguably, these are the times that you need self-compassion even more. Anything, you need some kind of help. So the idea with self-compassion is these are things that you can say to yourself or ways that you can talk to yourself even when you're not doing well. So an example of a time where you might need self-compassion, where you might use self-compassion, is, let's say you fail. Great example, I'm trying out YouTube, and let's say I put this video on and a bunch of people are like, you're stupid, you're ugly, you suck, with spelled S-U-K. I'm sure I'm gonna get one of those now. So then I feel bad about myself. So what do I do now? Now, if I'm thinking about my self-esteem, well, I don't really have great self-esteem right now because I'm not doing super great. So what I can use is self-compassionate thought. I can pretend that I am my own friend. I can kind of put on the hat of like a compassionate other person, like a parent or a teacher or somebody in your life who was kind to you at some point, and just say, yeah, that sucks that happened. It makes sense that you feel bad, that you got criticism, and people get criticized, and you'll be okay. Now, that's like a really short version, and I'm sure there's like a lot better ways that you can use phrases, and they give a bunch of examples, and I'm doing kind of a poor job of surmising that. But I really enjoyed this book because it made me pay attention to my own internal monologue and to how, like a lot of people, I have a really easy time being compassionate with others. Like if a client makes a mistake, I'm like, look at how good your life is in all these other arenas. Look at all the things that you have. Look at how much progress you've made. Even going that far into something to be able to make a mistake is its own success. I can say things like that, but to myself, it's like, no. So self-compassion, great book to have. I really, really liked it. Challenge that a few of my clients had with this book, and I also felt this challenge too, and I just kind of paid attention to it. And if you're really, really used to criticizing yourself and you're really used to negative loops in your head, then saying things like, I'm okay, I'm good at things, I can get through this, might feel dumb, but sometimes when things feel dumb, that's okay. Sometimes things don't feel natural to us because what's natural to us is not healthy. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.